Hello, my workplace wizards. It's been a long day of work and I hope you had a good one. We're finally relaxing after a long day ourselves. And on today's episode of Human First, we're going to talk about a little predicament we hear about a lot, which is the misunderstanding of the position description, or PD, compared to a performance plan. This is a major problem and why it's something I want to address here, because when we have these big misconceptions about position management or performance management, it can really cause large communication gaps and expectation gaps between employees and supervisors, and that's obviously not the healthy way to live. That's because this is a disadvantage all around, because when we have these communication and expectation gaps, it really starts to inhibit our work performance, the quality of it, of ourselves, or for our workforce. And as a performance management consultant by trade, I can tell you that 95% of the time that I'm brought in to assist with a performance issue, it's because there is a communication or expectation gap and not actually a lack of a KSA, a knowledge, skill, or ability to fully be operational in your role. So to better manage the performance of ourselves or of others, let's consider the following. Who's ever heard the argument or even said the argument, I know you're out there, it's not in my PD, so I'm not doing it. At this point, I know I'm getting some head nods, and I'm sorry if you've gone through this before, and if it's a unique or novel argument for you, just know that your fellow workplace wizards have been through considerable pain potentially managing someone who has this operational mindset. And it's a terrible mindset to have because it's a completely false one. A PD is not a descriptor of the daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or even yearly accomplishments that we're meant to achieve throughout the duration of our fiscal year or even our career, but is in fact a list of the knowledge, skills, abilities, certifications, education, basically major qualifications we need to say that we have to be able to operate in this position effectively. We need to be able to do certain things in certain ways to manage the position effectively. And the analogy I like to use to digest this or, bring it home further is imagine that you are applying for a position to move cargo from point A to point B, or between two destinations. Some questions that might come to mind are, how long do I have to move the cargo? What is the cargo? Do I have to stay within a budget? Am I doing this independently or with part of a team? But I hope the most important question we're asking right out the gate is, what is the mode of transportation? Because there's a variety of vehicles out there. I have to know I'm qualified to operate this one. It could be an airplane, it could be a helicopter, it could be a ship, a semi-truck, a train. We have to be operationally successful to even know that we're qualified. So what information would we look for there? Okay, so in this scenario, the vehicle is the position itself. And I'll repeat that. The vehicle is the position. So when we're saying we are qualified to operate this vehicle, we're saying that we have the knowledge, skills, and abilities, education, training, certifications, understanding of governing law regarding the mandation of how we operate this vehicle. And that is the information we find in the PD. But once we get behind the wheel of that vehicle, which we're going to say is a car now, because the only other ones I know how to operate are bikes and roller skates, and I really don't think that they're great for this analogy. Once we get behind the wheel of that vehicle, now we need a clear set of directions or a map to success for where we're going and how we're maneuvering it there. And that's our performance plan, our accomplishments that we're meant to achieve in this role, in this vehicle. Remember my analogy from earlier, moving cargo from between two destinations. 1 year, it could be between California and DC. The next year, it could be between Canada and Mexico. Next year, it could be between Mexico and Brazil. All of those journeys are going to look completely different potentially, and that's where our performance plan would be changing from year to year to meet the strategic vision, alignment, change in leadership directives, whatever it may be to allow for flexibility in the workforce to meet the critical mission needs of our organization based on prerogatives, priorities. Those things tend to change. All of those journeys are going to look completely different potentially, and that's where our performance plan would be changing from year to year to meet the strategic vision, alignment, change in leadership directives, whatever it may be to allow for flexibility in the workforce to meet the critical mission needs of our organization based on prerogatives, priorities. Those things tend to change. And these really are the directions that we would follow if we were going on a long journey. We need a clear set of directions to get us from point A to point B to point C successfully and effectively. And within all of those questions that we asked ourselves earlier, budget, timeline, independence level, things like that. And so the reason that the PD gets confused with performance plans or performance expectations so much is because the PD really should be used to influence what we put in those directions, because we can't ask an airplane to hover. We can't ask a ship to cruise along dry land or someone to drive 500 miles an hour to get somewhere more quickly than the law allows for. So the capabilities of the position need to be representative in those performance expectations. And that's where if you're having an issue of equal pay for equal work, then you'd want to contact your HR department and consider doing some sort of desk audit or something like that. And the journey doesn't end there. In our next episode, we're going to focus on the supervisor's role in this journey. We will discuss creating clear, results-focused, and measurable performance standards, or our directions to success, along with giving clear and effective feedback along the way. After all, you're all here because you are workplace wizards. But as always, I want you to remember you're also human first.